Hey everybody, it's TotalGamerJunkie. I want to welcome you all back to my channel. So in this video, I want to talk about Max's relationship with her parents and what I believe could happen with her parents in the timeline where Chloe is alive. Now, we learned that from when the demo played with Max, when she's got to get Max off his camera, we learned that Max's relationship with her parents is a bit cold and distant. And there's this YouTuber, I really recommend you check him out, Cucu on Gaming, or Coco on Gaming. I'll leave a link to the video in the description below, because he went over it, he looked through the messages on Max's phone, and he had something very interesting to talk about involving Max's parents. And I think this is the reason why Max is cold and a little cold and distant with her parents, at least in the Sacrifice Chloe timeline. Now I'm going to go over what he says, and this is what he said word for word, and I quote: "In text, Max's parents asked if Mr. Jefferson ever touched her or spoke to her inappropriately, and Max denies that it ever did. And it's true, in this reality she never ended up in the dark room. She erased the consequences of being drugged by her teacher, but the memory remains. Max is a survivor of a predator. She is a victim of the darkroom just as much as Kate Marsh or Rachel Amber. But unlike Kate, she can't testify or prove it. She can't even talk to anybody about it because it technically never happened, and people would just assume that she's crazy. Max has not figured out how to confront her past properly yet, and it makes her deeply uncomfortable. I really think this is a theme we'll see explored more in Double Exposure. I'm absolutely gripped by the idea of seeing Max work through her trauma and acknowledge how bad it really is." Now, I foresee two scenarios that play out in Max's coldness and distance towards her parents. Now, the first is, we know that Kate Marsh is a victim of Jefferson's as well, so no doubt when he's arrested, Kate would testify, and obviously, regardless of whether she testified or not, we know that Jefferson will get arrested. Nathan will rat him out when he's in jail, the police will find the dark room, Jefferson gets arrested, and the officers are going to find all the binders with all the photos in it. They're going to find Kate Marsh, Rachel Amber. They're even going to find Victoria on there, but the folder will be empty as it was in episode 4. Now, we know that Max has a folder, but we don't actually see it until episode 5, so maybe he's got it hidden around somewhere. And plus, I do think that every one of Jefferson's students, regardless of whether their name was in a folder or not, would be asked if he acted inappropriately towards them or if something happened, such as Courtney. She was one of Jefferson's students, and I believe Alyssa was too. Now, when Max's parents ask her about this, I think it will be like Max's body language will kind of give her away, and this will result in her parents knowing, okay, something did happen, which technically didn't due to timeline shenanigans, but they'll be like, okay, something did happen, you're not telling us what's going on. And in my mind, perhaps the breaking point for this scenario is maybe Max's parents do some sort of intervention, and they try to get Max to talk about what happened in the dark room, because they think that she knows what's going on. There is more to the story, but Max can't tell anyone about her powers. They'll think she's crazy, and she's certainly not going to use them again after the trauma she went through. And so I do think this will result in her being distanced, because she doesn't want to talk about Katie Bay, about Chloe, none of it, and she doesn't want to listen to her parents constantly asking about it, so she would, I wouldn't say go no contact, but she get away from them and just focus on her photography, because that's one of the things. She's a nomad. It's stated that she's never found a place to call home, and she's always been on the move, taking photographs of abandoned buildings. Now, the second scenario I have in mind is that Max may have said something that hinted at the dark room. Maybe she mentioned, okay, how the dark room has a 24/7 is under 24/7 surveillance with a hidden camera, or perhaps she mentions the folders or something about the darkroom specifically that no one else could have known. And Max, can't admit, okay, I was there, but she would probably brush it off, say, okay, maybe it was a lucky it was a lucky guess or something like that. And Max's parents were like, no, she knows more than she's letting on, and they'd probably try to get Max to open up, and this could result in she could have enough, and it's like, I don't want to talk about it, and that could cause a rift between the two of them. But what about Max's relationship with her parents in the timeline where Chloe is alive? Well, I think that it would be a bit better in the timeline. Well, not just a bit, I think their relationship would be better. Now, just like the first game, I don't believe Max's parents will make an appearance. We only see them in photographs and we see messages they send. So this would actually be easier for Deck 9, because they mentioned when they're creating the two timelines how it's twice as much dialogue and writing they have to put into the game. And we know when Max shifts timeline, the messages on her phone change. So it wouldn't be, if they can do that when Max switches timelines, then it wouldn't be too hard to do that in the Bay timeline where Max's parents are alive and change the messages. So obviously Max and Chloe would go to Max's place because they have no idea what's happening. I mean, Max's parents have no idea what happened to them, and Max and Chloe have nowhere to go, so they'd have to go to Max's parents. And after a while, I do think, because we know that Jefferson, regardless of what timeline you choose, he's in prison. And we know that he got arrested because of a letter that David receives from Victoria Chase in the Bay timeline. So I think what would happen is shortly afterwards the police would need to get a statement from Max and Chloe, because David would probably tell them how he came across this and he got it from Max and Chloe. Or perhaps with the hidden camera footage in the dark room, the police would see that Max and Chloe got there first, regardless of how it turns out. Max and Chloe would have to give a statement to the police and explain how they came across the dark room. And it is plausible that they could get away with it, because you remove Max's powers from the equation, from the story, and they can come up with a reason. Okay, we did this, we did that, this is how we found the dark room. And it would be easier for Max to open up to her parents, because it's not as if she rewinded time. This isn't the Sacrifice Chloe timeline. Max lived through all this. She chose not to go back and change anything. She chose to let the storm wipe out Acadia Bay. So she's able to talk to her parents about, okay, this is what happened this week. So I do think because of that, her relationship with her parents will be a bit more better. She'll probably still be hesitant to talk about Acadia Bay or Jefferson, but no, I do believe that their relationship would be better. But we won't know much until Double Exposure comes out. But anyways, that's really all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. And be sure to check out that Cuckoo for Gaming video that talked about this. I'll leave it in the description below. This is TotalGamerJunkie, signing off.